I'll be totally honest with you when it comes to this video. It isn't that me and Foxy, this is one of the videos that we have a disagreement on, but we have a disagreement on a very small portion of the video. And it's basically, and I'll even give you the heads up so you can think about it while the video is going on. It isn't about what was said. It was more or less when it was said.
Am I the jerk for telling my retired military father what I said? I'm 32, male, and my family is what I would consider generational military. We have ancestors that fought in World War I and beyond. I grew up being moved from place to place, going long stretches without seeing my father, and I hated it. Anytime I'd say I missed my dad or I wished I could see him more, I was quickly told to be quiet and be proud of my dad for being a hero. I once was upset we had to move because I was finally making friends and was told to not be selfish. I'm one of 4 kids. My brother and sisters all enlisted at 18. I chose not to, and while I'm not the only person in my extended family to do so, I knew it was disappointing. Originally, I chose not to enlist just because I didn't want to be in the military. However, over time, after learning more about it, I find the concept just wrong. I've never told my family this. I went to college, got my dream job, and eventually married my wife. We have 2 beautiful daughters. Because of our own upbringing, I do my best to be at every recital, school concert, soccer game, etc. I help my eldest with her homework, have special days with each of them separately, and then as family. Recently, I had the opportunity for a promotion that would require traveling 2 weeks out of the month. My wife and I briefly considered it before deciding that it just wasn't worth it in the long run. We do good financially, and the extra money wouldn't be worth her raising our kids alone half the month and me missing out on so much. The promotion came up during a family party. My father is now retired and he was there. When he heard me mention it, he asked why I would want to pass it up. I said I don't want to miss out on my girls' childhoods and have them feel like I abandoned them. My dad's chest puffed out and he said I was attacking him. I was confused and he said I had never been quiet about being unhappy as a military kid. He went on a rant about him not being an absent dad. I was an ungrateful brat, not patriotic, telling me to move to Canada if I didn't like it here. I said I don't want to do that. I just hated growing up without a physically present father. He said he was fighting for our country. I said that was a choice, and I'm allowed to not agree with it. My wife, kids, and I left shortly after. My wife agrees with my point, but said I was a jerk for wording my reasons for not taking the promotion like I did. Am I the jerk?
Yeah, you're an asshole.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with that one.
Because the difference is you got some unresolved frustration.
Mm-hmm.
So then you need to, address that in a way. It's not always a what, it's a how, right? See, people think that as long as what I say is my truth, it's good enough. No, you can be an asshole telling your truth. I don't know if he's done this. Now, granted, full disclosure, I am an Army brat. Okay. And I am, well, I guess what he used the term of generational military, where my family has been in the military going far back as you can count it.
World War I.
I've been told we go all the way back, but I don't know.
Oh, you talking about you person? Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the story. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about my family. So my brother and I neither of us went into the military. Like, we're the first ones to just be like, nah, that's cool. But we got a lot of cousins and everybody else, right? So a lot of the story echoes. Now my father, I guess because of his MOS or his specialty, he was never really gone. My dad was infantry. He made rank very quickly. And so the only time he was really away where we weren't stationed, where he was stationed, was a short period of time where he had to go to Korea. He had to serve in Korea. But I personally never felt the way this young person, this person feels. so I can't quite relate there, but I know a lot of military kids who do. It still comes down to your how, right? You feel like your dad wasn't there. Okay. Have you ever paused to really understand how your dad might have felt about not being there? Did you take the time to look at anyone's angle to your life experience beyond your own? See, your father joined the military. Once you join the military, you got two choices. You can sit there and sulk about it and never make rank and all that, whatever, be a bad soldier, or you can go in there and do your best, and it's your career, it's your livelihood. That doesn't take away from the fact that he wishes he could be around his kids. It doesn't take away the fact that the woman that he loves, he can't be around all the time. He's still balancing what he views as his duty and his mission, because in a very real sense, he has leveraged his life for your comfort in a very real sense. Because at any given time, he can be called up and never come back home. But he's made that decision that he loves his family and he loves his people enough that he'd do that. So that doesn't take away from the child missing his daddy, right? I get that. But it just really annoys me how people only look at things from their own lens. It's all me, right? That bothers me. So yeah, you made different decisions than your dad. Guess what? The reason why you can make those decisions different than your dad is because of what your dad did. You gonna give Pops credit for that? I didn't hear him doing that. Pops afforded you the lifestyle that you could grow up in the military and not be something you had to do.
Okay.
But
now here's my argument. Here's my counter argument. Because I disagree. And granted, of course, I keep in mind that we're taking all of this from the OP's point of view because he's the one that wrote the letter. So, just keep that in mind. But since we are taking it from his point of view, let's look at his point of view. Yeah, he has told him this sucks rocks. I'm sick and tired of moving. I'm sick and tired of making friends and we have to leave. I'm sick and tired of you not always being here. I'm sick and tired of this thing. And all we get is not, oh, I understand, son, but this is the way things are when you're in the military, blah, blah, blah. No, this is always to suck it up and you need to be happy that your dad is a war hero, a military hero, or whatever the word was said. So it was always your feelings at this point really don't give a rat's ass. It don't matter. So now the guy grew up, and things I have to take one thing, what you said, to heart. The only thing I think this guy ever really got out of it is I know how it felt to have an absentee father, and I refuse to do the same thing to my kids. That was the one thing that he got from his father. Because being in the military and taking care of your family is the equivalent of you working in a corporate operation and taking care of your family. Don't make a difference because you in the military. You did what you were supposed to do. Great. I get it. Wonderful. Fantastic. Now, the other part that got me is the response of the father. And that was the part that I knew was going to be some BS. Because you could have said, dude, I'm sorry that I missed out on your life. I'm sorry that you feel this way. I really do. No, this dude went all the way from, and he did say in his rant back to his son, you have been saying this since you was little. Oh, so you did know this was effed up to him.
Yeah, he knew.
He known this for a long time. But the other thing is, you went, I don't know where the hell you went with, you unpatriotic, and you need to move to Canada simply because he's mad at you? Do you think every war that we ever fought, they just sent your little ass in there and said, fight? Oh, we won. You weren't the only military person fighting, dude. Your son don't like you. That ain't got nothing to do with your ego. Got it so much as he don't like you. He don't like America. And if he don't like America, he can leave.
Well, that's the ego thing.
Yeah, that was going from where you was going with
that. That's the ego thing. And not only was it ego thing, but it was a dead giveaway that this is a conservative family.
Oh,
dead giveaway.
Oh. Yeah, that was
right. That part of go live somewhere else.
Yeah,
the only conservatives say that crap.
Yeah, if you don't like it here, you could go somewhere else. Yeah,
right.
But let me finish real quick.
Go ahead.
So my point was, and the funny thing about it is, you're right back on the Fox train, because that's exactly the way Foxy thought, that he could have pulled him to the side and said, look, we'll discuss this later and we'll talk about it. I'm on the verge, at this point, simply because, and I don't know what the word to say it is, but I have a strange feeling that him saying, hey, let's talk about this later, with response to how the father was acting afterwards, meaning, no, we're going to talk about it now. What do you got to say? No, I need to know now. Good. See, I have a feeling this dude was going to push the subject till he got an answer.
He might. And I think that's where you and I differ a lot. You and I differ a lot on that point right there. You assume you know what the next response is going to be, and you act on that assumption. I'm saying what you're saying may very well be what comes next. But why don't you feel that the other person has the right to at least make that call and then react to it? Right? Like, if the dad, because what I gather from part of the story is the dad is your traditional military guy, right? Gung ho, raw,
Yeah.
Give orders, take orders, accomplish the mission. That's what we do. And things suck, and along the way, it ain't gonna go your way, but you still got to get it done. And personally, there's a lot of that in me. I do believe in that to a certain extent. But then I also have a softer side, because my girls taught me how not to live in black and white and to see all these rainbow colors in between. But it's still, there is a lane for that. And what I gather from this person's thing is, dad was not the instigator in this situation. What this is you and your dad have unresolved issues. You feel like you didn't have enough voice and choice as a child. I would say you probably didn't. As a military child, I can almost guarantee you didn't, because the orders come through the chain of command, right? They tell your dad where he needs to go. Then the family gets up and they move, right? It ain't even like your dad is making the decision on all the places he's going to be going. And then oftentimes, let's say he joined the military and he was 18. So as a child, he joined the military. So that's around the time most people join the military. Somewhere between 18 and 22. So as a child, you joined the military. You chose a discipline as a child, effectively. Based on that discipline, or as Marlon would call it, the MOS, based on that discipline, you might have rapid deployments. You might never get deployed. You might move every 3 years. You might move once in 15 years. It all depends on how fast you're trying to make rank, what specialty you went into the military under, and all those things. So, yes, young person, you didn't have a lot of say. I am going to say, suck that part up, because it's not up to you as a child where y'all move, right? That's not a child's place. But as a parent, you should have been working between you and your wife. I'm talking about the dad at this point. You should have been working to make those transitions as easy as possible for your children.
That's all I'm
asking. That depends on your toolkit. he could have been doing it the best way he knew how, and the way he was doing it just wasn't the best way.
The best,
but no one wants to give him credit for trying and getting it wrong.
But they
just want to say,
I am not going to give you credit for literally telling your kid to suck it up and be grateful that your dad is in the military and fighting for this country. I'm not going to give you credit. If that was your
toolkit, that's what you'll say. We sit here all the time and talk about our childhoods in the imperfect way that our parents raised us. And all of those things are based on the toolkits our parents had. All the ass whoopings, all the cursing out, all the you can't do this, you can't do that, all of that. These were your parents that we all love doing it the best way they knew how. And then we grow up and some of the unresolved shit boils up and we carry some of it forward or we do some things different. But who you know raising kids perfectly?
Not anybody I know. But see, this is one of those stories I don't think there's an a-hole at all. Because I think both sides are reasonable in what they feel. I think the son is reasonable in feeling like you weren't there for me. You could have been there. Then the father is reasonable in saying, hey, I was serving the country. Although him telling him to move to Canada, shut up. But there's really no a-hole here. The son had every right to express how he felt. And so did the father. Except for the moving to Canada part. He could have kept that to himself.
And I'll toss the Canada part out from just being angry, saying something stupid.
Yeah. Oh, and the part about him just ranting. I mean, he knew his child. Yeah, you're right. He should have sat down with the wife and said, hey, when he misses me, show him a picture of me or something. Say, hey, he's serving our country. He's a hero. Blah, blah. Whatever military parents tell their children. I don't know. But there's no a-hole in this story, I don't think.
And if I was even to meet Diaz in the middle and Tracy in the middle, it was emotional. It was emotions boiled over on both ends. The guy had him. The OP had emotions. It boiled over because it just boiled over, right or wrong. When you have the emotions built in, because I hate when people go, "Yeah, you could have handled it better." Yeah, you could have had to handle it better. But that's playing what's that? Couch quarterback.
2020 hindsight or whatever.
Yeah, 2020 highlight everything else. Yeah, you already saw what the result of one event was. So of course you would look back on the event and go, you could have did this. Well, okay, got you. But to meet Diaz and Tracy in the middle, the OP's emotions boiled over, and he said what he said. The father could have been in the same position. He may have felt this pain for years, abandoning his child, wanting to be there for his child, couldn't be there for his child, never could have been there for his child, hearing about this from his child since day one and everything else, and that could have been his final straw. And I'm with this.
That's the point I was making.
Let's eliminate the move to Canada thing, because I don't know. He was on a roll.
Yeah, nobody. It's
the equivalent. It's the equivalent, right? The son is like, "Well, I didn't take the job because I don't want to be like you, Dad." And then Dad is like, "Well, if you don't like it, get the hell out of the country." They're both hyperbolic statements meant to hurt the other person.
My problem with the convo was the father immediately dismissed the feelings of his son. The son was not criticizing his father. He was just telling his father how he felt. And
he was criticizing his father.
He going word for word and statement for statement, he didn't. But
father took that little.
You and I know daggone well what sneaky diss is. And that could have literally been a sneaky diss.
He took a shot.
So if you go, so there's two different things. Word for word, no, he did not say absolutely nothing wrong about the father.
The father just
but you kind of knew that, he was talking about
it was a passive aggressive, took a shot.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people when they get into stuff with me. I am non-confrontational. I really, 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 really hate conflict. But that's because I don't do good in the middle, right? I either let a lot of stuff go or I go right for your throat. Like I don't do variations. I'm really, really bad at throttling back my responses. So if you take a shot at me, pretty often I'm swinging right back, because what you're not gonna do is think that I'm gonna let this little slick shit fly, right? So like he's sitting there with his dad. His dad knows him. He knows his dad. This was an opportunity, which is human. This is what families do. This is what people do, right? And there was an opening. You couldn't just say, "Well, I didn't take the job because I wanted to spend more time with the kids," or "I didn't take the job because when I did all the math with my wife, it just didn't work out to make sense." You knew what your trigger points are going to be for your dad. You knew.
Yeah. He went right.
So you worded it in such a way to get that reaction out of him, and then he gave you the reaction. Because in reality, that's what both of you wanted. Because you have what is it called? Like unresolved issues. So, like with spouses, sometimes, Marlon, I don't know if it ever happens in your world, but I know it happens in mine. Sometimes you take a shot at your spouse just because you got some frustrations that's been sitting around, and it's not worth a whole fight, but you need to get that off your chest, so it just be something stupid. But you go ahead and you swing that jab, and you think you're gonna get through it, and a lot of times you do get through it, but sometimes they fight back.
Anna,
go ahead, Anna, I'm sorry.
All right, Anna.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was leaving. Sorry.
It was I don't know if anybody else, but for me, the animals were so freaking distracting, and it was cute, and
the cute little dog.
I couldn't hang on to the story at some point. Where were they?
Were animals?
They were at a family picnic or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, they was at some kind of family gathering.
Some kind of family get together.
Okay, so
where stuff be happening, where family stuff always pop up. Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, 4th of July, fight breaks out.
Or just some random get together. Let's get together as a family and blah 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 and shoot the breeze. We ain't seen each other in a long time.
And then here comes
and thank you for saying that, Anna, because that's the main argument discussion me and Foxy have. Is why did you bring that up there? Why could you not have brought it up at a later time? And I'm piggybacking off of Thea's. When you know it's going to trigger him, why did you not do it at a later time? Why would you do this in front of the family? So
that's because it's family. This is what families do. We bring up inconvenience things that bothered us 25 years ago. We'll hold on to that thing for 25 years, and that's the worst time. A funeral, a wedding, a graduation. We'll bring up some. We didn't resolve it then, but we're gonna resolve it today. People, this is life, and this is what happens when you do not resolve something when it happens.
I've learned, me and Foxy learned the hard way. And Mickey, I will get back to what you were saying, but let me say this real quick. Me and Foxy learned this the hard way, to not hold things in anymore. Remember the word anymore, because we used to. And we let it build and let it build and let it build until it spilled over. Then we're spending the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, a day, the rest of the week fussing and complaining and moaning and groaning about stuff that happened 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, 2, 3, 4 months ago, that neither one of us remember, but the other person does vividly.
They remember how they felt.
Yeah, because we remember how it felt. Yeah, so yeah, I remember it. And obviously, since you don't remember, you didn't care and everything else. We have made a promise to each other that from this point on, and the word is difficult conversations. We know it's not going to be a conversation. It's not going to be easy. But if there's something that's on your mind that you need to say, damn it, you need to say it. Because it's not going to get better because you said it in your head and you get mad about it. You need to hold those difficult conversations. Because you need to get it all out.
Nobody can read your mind. And if they could, that's really squeamy.
It is.
They could.
It is. Don't say it's easier said than done, because it is. It is that easy.
No, I was saying it's easier between partners. Now, it absolutely is easier said than done, right? Because what we've all been told, probably right around the time you first get married, well, don't go to bed angry, right? Yeah. Everybody hear that thing.
Yeah, we tried that one time. That didn't work.
The people who tell you that, 9 times out of 10, the person who told you don't go to bed angry, been married for like 30 years. So they already went through what you about to go through, right? You got to get through those first 10 to 15 years. You got to get through fighting, almost giving up. You got to go through all of that mess. That's part of being with another person. And then what you find is one day, so for some people, it happens in 10 years. For some people, it happens in 15, 20, and 30. Wherever it happens, one day, things click. And you just stop fighting over certain things, right? Or you know to just say what it is and deal with it. But those are skills, right? You got to go through some things and learn those skills and work through them. And it's easier for partners than it is between a father and his son, at least in my opinion. Because like with me and my dad is my hero. My dad joined the military when he was 17 years old to take care of his wife who was about to have his child. He had every opportunity. He was a football and a basketball phenom coming out of the projects. But because he had a baby coming, he would have been the first one to get to go to college. But he didn't go to college. He went to the military so that he could take care of his family. And in my experience, in my realm, I've never heard him complain. Now, does that mean that he never complained? No.
Not to you. Yeah, you didn't hear it.
You never heard it.
You never heard it.
Does that mean, right? Does that mean that he didn't have problems and all these things? I learned all kinds of stuff as I got older, after I was grown, that the things that I didn't have any awareness of when I was a kid growing up underneath them. So that's why when I listened to this person telling his story, I couldn't really ride with him all the way, because he's not factoring in the things that were done to give him what he did have. He's focusing on the things he didn't have. He's focusing on the level of parenting, the what do you call it? Gentle parenting is what they call it nowadays. That was not something that was normal back then. So you trying to judge his parenting skills from, let's say, the 80s to your parenting options in the 2020s. Come on, y'all. You got to give some people a little bit of flexibility.
But he has every right to feel the way they both have the right.
And I'm saying he doesn't have the right to feel. You feel how you feel, but you need to think about more than just your feelings, because your feelings will play you false. You got to say, here are my feelings. This is what I feel. Here's why I feel it. I feel justified in why I feel it. And then think about the other person that you're so upset about, what might have gone into their math. And then you can come to an intelligent way of expressing your feelings, right? What this dude is doing is he's reacting like a teenager would, but he's already an adult with a family. So he's entitled to how he feels. It comes down to the how is being expressed. And then the father, he's entitled to how he feels. But his how sucks too. Right?
But we also have to keep in mind something that just a tad bit of a heartstring puller. It ain't like the son was asking. It's not like the son was asking for nothing else other than his father. He wasn't asking for extra income. He wasn't asking for extra loving. I wish I had more food. I wish we did everything. He just wanted to spend more time with his father growing up.
But that's what he thinks he wanted. Situation.
That's what he thinks he wanted.
Was in the military. It's like both sides have to concede something. That both sides have to make a concession. Both sides have to make a concession. The son has to realize his father was serving his duty in the military. The father has to realize the son feels inadequate because his father was gone all the time.
Exactly.
It sounds like to me it's this.
That's why I said neither one of these people are the
a-hole. It sounds like it's just.
I mean, minus the father telling the son to go to Canada. That was a-hole-ish all the way, man.
You realize at a certain point when people are riled up, they're saying stuff. Doesn't make sense. They're mad and angry. They're saying stuff.
So. Yeah, but going to what you said about he just wanted his daddy.
Yeah.
All right, I get that. Every child, generally speaking, every child wants their mommy and their daddy. Okay? That's like when you run into people who are adopted, never knew their parents, right? They only know their adoptive parents, love their adoptive parents to death, but there's still a hole in their heart because they want to know something about their mommy and their daddy. It's a human thing. Get it, got it, good. But you're reacting to a child's viewpoint. I want my daddy. That's not a reasonable, full-fledged position. That's just an emotional response. Because let's say daddy was there. No, hear me out. Let's say daddy was there. Daddy might not have been a good dad. So you want dad there because you didn't have dad. You're focusing on what you don't have. Well, he could have been there, and then he worked at the local sawmill, hated his life, starts drinking, all this. You don't get to design the person. So once you start to shift these things around and say, well, dad should have been present. Okay, dad would have been present, but dad's now present in the position that he would have been in. Because your father was not present and he gave some of the opportunities for you, whether he was an imperfect dad or whatever it is, was chalk it up. It is what it is. Y'all need to work that out, get some counseling if that's what y'all need. But the fact is, he was not there. The reality you're in is he was not there all the time. Based on all the things that happened in your life, it led you to a position to where you can now be there for your children in a way that he wasn't there for you. That's a good thing, right?
Yep.
But what if you change the scenario and now he's there and he's not a good father? Because you don't know what kind of father he was. You don't know. And then you wish he would have been gone.
Diaz, do you think your point of view is also biased because you had a hero for a father? Not everyone has.
I said my point of view is biased. But listen to the words I'm saying. Listen to the words I'm saying. I am telling you, not just from my point of view, because I had a great father. The story I just gave you is about having not a great father. The story I just gave you has nothing to do with my life. I'm simply saying that whenever you want to cast judgment on another person, it behooves you, the closer that person is to you, it behooves you to throw some consideration into what made that person who and what they are to you. It's just what you should do. So if your father wasn't that great away, what makes you think he's going to be that great present?
You don't know.
Exactly. So now you're only functioning off of your imagination. You're holding someone to a standard that only exists in your head.
It would have been better if he had been around.
Exactly what you said that I do. Exactly what you said that I do. Look ahead of what could have, should have, would have happened and everything else. I don't know what the father could have did. He doesn't know what his father could have did. He is going, the emotions that he is feeling right now is the present day of what he's already been through.
The distinction, Marlon, is when I was talking about when you do it, you're looking forward. I am talking about looking backward. See, forwards, you still have a chance to write the script. Backwards, you don't get to rewrite that script. You don't get to go back and decide who he would have been, could have been, should have been. You don't get it. You can't go back there. That's gone. It's past, whatever. So everything you're functioning on is your imagination. Everything you're functioning on is what you wish were true. And you can't have that version of reality because, unfortunately, that's not the version of reality you got to live. So now you got two choices. you can either suck it up, which is unhealthy, right? Or you can find out, how do we chart our course from here, Dad? Here are my feelings, here are my concerns. You give me your feelings and your concerns. How do we chart this damn thing forward so we don't keep feeling this way about each other every time we see each other? Those are your choices. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong. And like I said, it just seems like it was we should hold this conversation in private, because I got some, man, first cuss word of the day. I got some shit I need to tell you, Dad. Like, for real. Like, we need to hash
this out. Would you really curse in front of your parent like that, though?
No, I'm not. No.
If it's that real, you might.
If you're, no. I've tried. I've been really upset, and I never could cuss in front of my mom, and I tried a lot. Closest I
slipped and cursed the other day in front of my dad, and I felt like I was 5 years old immediately. I'm so sorry, Dad.
I literally
Dad, I'm sorry.
Every curse word that you have heard me say on this show, and right now my mom is downstairs, and I go, "Ooh, I really hope she didn't hear me."
Yeah, play last night's episode too.
I really hope I didn't say
Mama, I got something I want you to hear. Listen to this last night's episode, Mama.
And she literally said, and she had told me one time before, "Son, you grown. I know you cuss. I cussed. I know where you got your cuss words from and everything. But it's a filter. It's just something that just, mother effer bleeping, bleeping, and bleeping, bleeping." My mom could walk in the room, and that's all I got to say, and I ain't got to say no more. And walk out the door. I just can't do it. Just no. Foxy's.
But yeah, to answer your question though, Tracy, I can't imagine ever sitting there cursing with my father, but that's my father. But I've witnessed a lot of relationships where cursing is just how they talk. That's just how they talk.
And so my parents,
they don't mean no malice.
Free of the cursing. Trust me, that's why I chose not to. Because we might.
I